All right, let's jump right in, guys. I want to cover everything before our guest comes. So let's get into it. So yeah, we're looking at social media communications, community. So we're starting with social media communities. It's going to be a struggle today, clearly. I apologize from the beginning, from the go. Okay, all right. So let's talk about what we mean by social media communities or virtual communities or digital communities in general. They all kind of operate the same way. So I'm going to give you a general definition of what we mean by digital community or virtual community. So it's a community of people sharing common interests, ideas. Let me get rid of this box here. So, right, common interests, ideas, and feelings over the internet or other collaborative networks. So let's break this definition down as we do. The first is virtual because, of course, we're talking about online communities. Now, communities is not a new thing. It's not a new concept. Human beings have formed communities for millennia. So it's a survival mechanism for us. But what we've basically done is transferred some of those qualities into the digital space, right? And so it's now an online version of a type of social community, right? And of course, it's made up of people, right? Because when we talk about digital, especially when we talk about social, we are talking about the interactions, the communications between people. And that is something that I want you guys to keep in mind, that even if you're a brand or a business, you're talking to people. And as such, you should try and position your brand or communicate your brand in such a way where your message is human-centric and it is received. It's not just a sales pitch, but it's a human connection that you're trying to make with people, even if those people are just customers, right? Especially in the internet now, where persons are spoiled for choice. The other part of the definition that is an interesting thing for you guys to take into account is the common interests. And this is just one area or one way people gather around or form communities around common interests. It could be ideas and it could be about feelings. You see a lot of what is happening in the States, especially when it comes to politics and people talking about echo chambers, and there's somebody whose microphone is on. All right, so echo chamber, people talk about echo chambers and people talk about, finding groups of people who believe the same thing you believe or feel the same way you feel. And in that way, you're not expanding your knowledge base, you're in an echo chamber. And that's where the feelings part of it come from, because one thing I want you guys to understand with marketing, you're talking again about people. People are highly emotional. Regardless of whether you think you are emotional or not, we operate off of emotions. That's how we are as human beings. And so you have to consider a lot about how a person would feel about a particular message. A lot of it is emotional, a lot of it involves feelings, even in sales. I might come across two brands that they're offering the same product or the same service, but I just feel better about this one than about another one. And it could be a simple thing as I like them branding, I like their colors, their messaging sound better to me, or it's more suited to me, or I can see myself reflected more in that brand than this brand. It's feelings. It's all feelings, right? And of course, we're talking about collaborative networks, right? And you might think, well, over the internet, what other collaborative networks could we be talking about? Well, before there was the internet, there were dial-up communities where it was phone-based. And I think this is what they mean by or other collaborative networks. And we're talking about networks that are not necessarily digital based, probably more analog based than they are digital based, but they're still considered a part of that community, if that makes any sense to you. It's a long story. Trust me, it all started with phones. right? And so I think that's what they mean by collaborative network. But there is another definition of digital communities that I think is sexier, that I think is more eloquent or more, I tend to like flowery language. And it's social aggregations that emerge from the internet when enough people carry on public discussions long enough and with sufficient human feeling to form webs of personal relationships in cyberspace. No, it's a lot. It's a lot. Uh, um, but basically, what Ryan Gold is saying, and guys, if you can get this book, please go and read this book. This book was published in 1993, and you're reading it and you're going, this could have been published yesterday, literally. Now, Ryan Gold started the first online community. I don't remember the name of the community or where, it's in the United States. He formed the first online community in his neighborhood or in his state, and he chronicles his experience building that virtual community and all that good stuff. It's very, very interesting and engaging. But this particular definition, it's very powerful because he's talking about, again, social aggregations, meaning socializing, coming together, aggregating, coming together as a group to socialize on the internet. And that can only happen when enough people have discourse, communicate, discuss over the internet, sufficient enough to discover that they have common interests and they feel the same way about certain things. And then those groups form relationships in cyberspace. That's pretty much what he's saying. And I think this is a very neat definition of a social media community. But there are different types of social media community. And this is something that I found interesting. I didn't know until I was actually doing research, that there were actually different types of social community, but really it's less of a type and more of a use case. So you're using or you're forming these communities for different reasons. So it's not necessarily a type, it's really just a digital community. But there are different reasons why people form these groups. And the first one is out of a common interest, right? And this is the most popular type of a digital community, as it involves. It involves people coming together because of one or more shared or common interests, right? And that's where a lot of these social media groups, digital groups, do. They come together because we kind of feel the same way about let's say yogurt or Harry Potter or exercise or beauty or whatever the subject matter is that brought you all together. Yes, there's a huge Harry Potter fan group. There's a huge Game of Thrones fan group. There's a fan group, social group, virtual community, digital community for just about everything. Okay. And so yeah, and we are looking at, so when we're talking about that, we're talking about groups like Facebook groups, right? So if you go on Facebook and you're trying to find a group, you'll find that you have a Facebook group for just about everything. And what you also find is that brands have created their own Facebook groups to foster that relationship where they're sharing information, they're solving problems for customers, they're sharing updates with customers, they're giving tips and advice and tutorials. It's a very, very good tool to connect with potential customers and to generate leads, right? And so I'm involved in a Facebook community group for Canva. I'm an active member of the Facebook Canva community group. I'm also an active member of the StreamYard community group on Facebook. And a lot of times you enter these groups because you're really looking for information, but these groups can evolve into something a little bit more, could be a little bit fanatic in some cases, right? But then you fall in love with the brand. You become so loyal and trusting of this brand. And that forms a sort of protection or barrier around that brand. So well, that's just one of the reasons why groups are so important, especially to small businesses, brand, or just brands and businesses in general, okay? So the second type, or the second reason why people form communities, is to share information, usually to solve a common problem or to solve problems, right? So what happens is that when you're not necessarily a member of this group, but there is a group, a core group, and you have visitors to that group who come there to seek out expertise or the expert opinions of the members of that group. And a great example of that is GitHub. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of GitHub, but it's a software sharing platform. Okay, so you have different software developers who come on and they create and share codes. So it's like an open source platform for coders and software developers, etc., who freely share their codes on the platform. And here's a secret to becoming a successful developer: have a GitHub membership. So you have the paid version of GitHub and you have the free version of GitHub. The paid version of GitHub is so cheap. I think the most expensive is the enterprise, and it's only $21. The regular is $4 a month, right? Because it's really supposed to be an open source platform. So this is what developers will do. Instead of reinventing the wheels to try to create a code that does a particular function, they go on GitHub and they scroll because you have different communities with different types of software, and they scroll and they find the right one and they legit copy and paste into whatever platform they're creating the code on. And if it works great, and it saves them a lot of time and energy, blah, blah, blah. So you go there to find the codes, but there's also a forum where you can have that discussion with actual members to get their opinions and expertise on something. So GitHub is a community of tasks. And the other one is communities of vocation. So it's a group of persons who share common professions or a vocation. And the group can be for support, for learning, for camaraderie, or all the above. And a good example of this is the Caribbean Cyber Support Team. Now, this is a Discord group, and Discord is another collaborative network, and it's on the internet. And a Discord community or a Discord group, and they're all Caribbean persons in the diaspora who are in the IT field, coders, developers, all sorts of different types of persons from the Caribbean or who are from the Caribbean, but could also be in the diaspora, coming together. And what they do is share resources. So whether it's an information resource or a tool or codes or books to help persons who are studying, etc. And they support each other in terms of further education, etc. Right? So this is a communities of vocation. And you'll find on platforms like LinkedIn, a lot of different types of communities that are built or groups that are built around professions. So outside of digital, you have like the association, the nurses association, the teachers association, the police federation. These are also communities, and it's the same thing but digital, right? All right, so that's it for communities, guys. And as we go along, we're going to realize why communities are so important to branding, to brand building, right? And it's because of engagement. It's the value that a community can offer a brand, and a brand can offer a community, and it all starts with engagement. So what is engagement? Well, according to Stacey McLachlan, social media engagement is like a dinner party. You're welcoming people and encouraging conversation between the host, which is you, the brand, the business, and the guests, which is your community members, your followers, right? But it's not just about looking or being popular. It's about making meaningful connections with current and future customers. So it's a lead generation tool as well. And it's also a customer retention tool as well. And it will serve to boost your brand and ROI, which is your return on investment, both on and offline. And that offline part is important because now you hear a commercial, and what do you hear? So Dunn's Electrical. Visit www.dunnselectrical.com or find us on social media at Dunn's Electrical, blah, blah, blah. So now brands are realizing that they have to also have a presence online and a community online to boost their brand. It's not just enough to tell them to come down to 40 Arthurtree Road, come visit Duns Electrical. I don't know if that's the actual address, right? To come visit Duns Electrical is also, you can connect with us in our digital space as well, right? Ooh, this is a bit out of this. Sorry. But here are some key considerations when you're trying to build your engagement plan. And if I should just go back a little bit, just to reemphasize, that engagement is really how you communicate with your audience, with your community, with your followers. The level of communication as well goes a little bit beyond just posting and saying, hey, I posted something, here it is. But it's actually trying to start a conversation most times, to get the audience involved in that conversation, to get them to participate in the conversation, and then to get them to carry on the conversation even after you would have posted what you posted or said what you said, right? Long after that, and that's what we call the proliferation, right? And so the more engaging your content, the conversation, the more participation you will have from your communities, especially when it's encouraged, right? And that's where your community actually will come in. So let's talk about some key consideration when you are developing your social media engagement plan, because along with your, or inside your social media plan, should be a strategy for how you are going to engage your audience on social media, how you're going to find them, how you're going to attract them, how you're going to engage them, and how you're going to convert them. That's a part of the plan as well. So first thing you have to be to tell them is, what's so special about you or your brand? Why should they care about your brand or whatever it is that you're offering? Are you talking to them or talking at them? Or are you trying to engage them, which means bringing them into the conversation, getting their feedback, and then working from there? And what do you want them to know, learn, or do? These are things that you have to consider when you're building your engagement plan. There has to be a goal, an objective that you're trying to reach. And it can't just be, of course, the end goal is always sales. Of course, that's, you know, it's so much work to develop and maintain and nurture a group or a community online. You're not doing it for no reason. But again, it has to be a human-centric effort. We're looking at, okay, what are the needs of my community members? What can my brand or product or service do for them? And that's where the value comes in for anybody who wants to join your community. There has to be something in it for them. It's called reciprocity. There has to be something in it for them, right? And so when you're building that plan, that is something that you have to take into consideration. You're not forming a community so you can have people who just adore you for no reason. There has to be some kind of value exchange in that community. And that's where and they have to trust what you say. And that's where the loyalty factor comes in, right? And then for a lot of people, what they don't understand is that the community dictates these different elements, right? Your community dictates when you're relevant, or if you're relevant. Your community dictates what is good content for your brand because they're the ones consuming the content. Your community dictates whether your brand is going in the right direction or not, because they're usually the ones who are following your brand, recommending your brand, referring your brand, and from your community, you can get, you know, customers, or a part of your community is customers that you've already had, right? So your community has a lot of say. And the trick is to balance, to create that balance, right? Ignoring your community is a bad idea. Absolutely bad idea. Because once you lose the trust of your community, your brand is pretty much dead in the water once you lose the trust of your community, because that spreads. So just as how your community proliferates your brand, spreads your brand, increases your brand reach, increases your brand awareness, social proof your brand, it can also damage your brand if you start acting a fool on the internet, right? So these are just some things to consider. And the part about, why should they care about what you have to offer? That is where you are connecting the value for your community, right? And you need to know what is so unique, or so what is your unique value proposition? What makes you special or different? And what makes this different from what somebody else is offering, which looks like the exact same thing to me? So take, for instance, you are both offering skincare products, let's say soap, right? But your soap is made the traditional way with lye or whatever kind of chemical that is supposedly bad for your health now. And then the other brand is making 100% organic from the mountain of Fiji, ingredients from the bottom of the lake, of the ocean, whatever, right? Depending on the audience you're talking to, there are things that are going to be more important to them than just a price point. Because believe it, the person who's making a traditional kind of soap with lye and other, traditional ingredients, probably going to be cheaper in terms of production, which means that the price is going to be cheaper. But the Mount Fiji soap, right, is going to be more expensive, but your audience will still be willing to buy yours over the other one because there are things that are more important to them than the price, like the natural ingredients, the fact that, it's handmade, it's a small business, you're a single mom, right? You're a woman entrepreneur. So there are different factors and elements that make you special and unique that your audience will gravitate to over another brand that don't have those special elements, etc. So you have to figure out what those things are, and that needs to be a part of your messaging, right? And that needs to be a part of your engagement plan as well. Another thing is talking at them without engaging them, because that's a different thing. So when you go and you drop a 50% off deal and you tell them, deal us for prices or something like that, you're talking at them. You're not trying to engage them. You're not trying to get feedback from them. You're not trying to understand what they think or feel about a certain thing. You're telling them something. They're not going to be very much interested in that, especially now when they have options. The internet has given consumers incredible powers. And as emotional people, power, emotions, you see what I mean, right? So there's another balance that you have to strike. So no, I'm not telling you that you should rely on your audience to tell you how to run your business. What I'm telling you is that you want their money, you have to listen to them, talk to them, talk with them, engage them, right? And it's also a good way to collect data about your product. And so you can improve your product as well. A lot of these communities are testing grounds. They're like microcosm of the larger market, and you can use it as a test group for your products and services, right? So that's another useful use for communities. And of course, what do you want them to do? So, all right, use a single mom and you make cute stuff or whatnot. You want them to buy it. Why would they buy it? Why do they want to buy it? So they like you, but what people are buying is really the solution, not necessarily the product. They want a solution, so they're buying the solution, right? And so you have to tell them, this is where the call to action come in, what we call a CTA. A good social media marketing plan has within it not just the content, but a strong caption, a solid CTA, the hashtags and quality content, right? So, and it's a part of conditioning as well. You have to condition your audience to interact with the brand the way you want them to interact with your brand, right? It's not going to go that way all the time, but as best as possible to interact with your brand, the way you want them to interact with your brand. But the most incredible thing also happened where they find other uses for your products and services that you intended, more money for you, right? An example of that is OnlyFans. OnlyFans started out, and it was just supposed to be another kind of social media platforms where persons come together, exhibit their skills or their talents or whatever, and persons pay to communicate, blah, 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 with them. But then persons in the sex industry took it over right? As a platform that they can actually come and get clients, or the clients can come and interact with them and pay them to do stuff, etc. OnlyFans was fine with that because they're making a ton of money off these creators, and they're creators, right? They're making a ton of money off these creators, but when they wanted to go to market, all of a sudden, to try and clean up their reputation, they're like, no, 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 we don't do that anymore. We're kicking all these people off the platform. And they almost collapsed. Same thing happened with Tumblr. Tumblr really started out as a photo sharing platform as well. And then the sex persons from the sex industry came in, and it kind of got really wild there for a minute. And then when Yahoo was buying Tumblr, they completely cleared off the platform of all those people, and everybody left Tumblr because they're like, that's the reason I was on the platform to begin with. So once you've taken away that element, there's nothing left for us to do on this platform. And of course, Tumblr collapsed, right? So yeah, sometimes your audience can take your product or your service and turn it into something completely different, which can be a good thing for you, but of course, brand reputation and all that good stuff. And that was on a little tangent. So let's move on. So now we are talking about types of what are we talking about? Organic promotions. Okay, we're talking about organic promotions. And the first type of organic promotions we're going to look at is cross-platforming. I actually wanted to talk about boosted posts, even though it is a paid promotion. Nobody really knows that you boosted the post unless you kind of tell them that you boosted the post, because it's supposed to look more organic. Because pretty much what is happening is that the platform is pushing it out to your audience as well. Now, imagine you have an audience of, and let's just go with a micro page, anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 followers. Yeah. Even with that small number, yeah, it's not a guarantee that every person, every follower you have is going to see your content. Why? Algorithm. How they interact with your brand, the type of content they interact with regularly is going to determine what shows up, especially at the top of their feed. And so with a boosted post, what you're kind of guaranteeing is that they're going to see it, because the platform, you're basically paying the platform to push it, but it comes across as organic, but it's really boosted. But let's go into the organic. So we're talking about, the first one is cross-platforming. And this is a strategy where it's a collaborative strategy, and it can be a direct or indirect collaboration. And it's where you share a piece of content on each other's platform. And this is also where your community kind of comes in, right? Because you post a piece of content, what your community does, what our community members share it to their stories, right? Or they even repost it to their feed. There are a couple of persons who, whenever I share content around Digital Jamaica, most often they're going to reshare that content on their platform, because the content I post makes sense for their page as well. But this happens a lot on TikTok. No, this is more indirect than direct on TikTok, and it's less of a direct collaboration and just more of, with TikTok, you can take a sound and you can add it to your own videos, right? So that's one way of doing that. And that sound becomes popular. And if the sound is tagged properly, which is one reason why Black TikTokers complain, because they're like, people steal our dance moves and our sounds and stuff, and they don't tag us or give us credit. But once the credit is attached, it's easy to go back and find the original, and the original tends to have a lot more views because it has become a popular sound. And that's how people go viral on TikTok. Another way it is done on TikTok is a reaction. So I'm reacting to you doing something on TikTok. So you see a lot of these duets or stitch. That's another way to duet or to stitch. And with the duet, you're really either participating in an ongoing action. So a popular one is a musician will come and they will sing a line and they say, okay, it's your turn. you make up a line and sing along with me, or these are the lyrics, you sing the next line. And what is happening is that's a direct collaboration, because what they're encouraging you to do is also showcase your talent using something that they have created, if that makes sense. That's one way of doing it. Or just people stitching a video to comment or review or remark on something that was said in the other video. So that's a kind of cross-platforming, but in a very unique way. And that happens on TikTok. Unlike on Instagram, it's really about sharing the stories, most likely. On Facebook, it's literally just a reshare. You can add a comment or not. On Twitter, it's just a retweet. You can retweet with a quote, but you can just retweet. Or it's a situation where, pro tip now, you have certain community members that you know are true fans, right? And what you can do is you can reach out to them and you can say, hey, I'm dropping this at this time. Here is the graphic, the video, whatever. Can you also share it on your platform after I would have dropped it on my platform? That's also another form of cross-platforming, but that's a more planned thing, especially when it's a huge event or something that's coming up. And you can incentivize them, not necessarily with cash, but you can build that relationship where they know that if they have something important coming up, you will post it on your platforms. With Digital Jamaica, we do that organically. What we do is a part of our referral kind of system where we go through our feed and we call it a hashtag on the timeline or on the feed, where we look at what's happening with our community members or followers, persons we follow, etc. And if it sounds interesting or cool or whatever, we will post it on our platforms without any prior conversation or anything that's indirect. We post it on our platforms just to give them a boost, right? So that's cross-platforming, guys. Another way is through what we call community spread, or another way is community marketing. And this is why community is also, this is another reason why community is important for brands, because community marketing is a thing. And community marketing is where you have these persons who are loyal, to your brand or whatever, and they will ensure that your content is shared, referred, recommended, social proof, all that good stuff. And community marketing is important because it's really a word of mouth system. And regardless of all the fancy marketing gimmicks, word of mouth is still the most powerful, most effective marketing tool. And that's really what community marketing is. And the interesting aspect, or the most valuable aspect of that, is where it's a voluntary act. You don't have to ask your community to do it. The fact that they are a member of your community means that they're going to want to do it for you, right? And they share your content on their platforms as well. And what that helps you to do is expand your reach, expand awareness, bring more people into the community. And of course, it can make your content go viral. Now, an example that I always use is this Jessica in the kitchen situation. Now, I think it was last year, Jessica in the kitchen went viral. No, it wouldn't be the first time she went viral, but she went viral, right? And so in the height of the pandemic, she came up with this whipped coffee ingredient. Now, this is a vegan blog, and she came up with this whipped coffee ingredient. And when I tell you that her community spread this and it just spread like wildfire, it ended up in popular blogs. It ended up on popular channels. It even ended up on popular news stations in the States about how this Instagrammer and food blogger went viral for whipped coffee. Now, did she invent whipped coffee? No. But as a vegan blogger, I think that was one of the ingredients that made her version interesting, because it was a vegan version. And then two, a lot of people were home in the pandemic looking for things to do because they were bored, right? And then here comes this thing, and then it just took off, and her community just shared it. And this is just a stories thread of all the people who shared her thing. And you notice a lot of it had the stay-at-home tag. It was in the midst of the pandemic last year, right? And even celebrities got in on the act and started doing the whipped coffee and tagging her and posting it in their stories, etc. And it went viral. And that's on Instagram. Another popular viral community spread viral video is this guy. His name is Taunted, Tawnteg. I think that's his stage name. He was just, a regular TikToker, and he sang. So he would, write his own songs and play with the guitar and sing on TikTok. But people absolutely loved it, and this is what happened. I'm gonna unplug my headphones so you guys can hear. You know I'm not the one to start a war. That's him singing. At any time you can just run through the door. You say, I'm not your responsibility, so why you calling every time you drink too fucking heavily? Steadily becoming my enemy. This energy, I swear there's no remedy. Tired of the bullshit. You already know this. Gotta happy that I wrote this, cause you decided to focus. Yeah. And once again, I don't really ever want to be your friend. I'm not gonna give you all my time to mend the breaks, the beds, and think of a happy end. You know I'm not the one to start a war. At any time you can just run through the door. You say, I'm not your responsibility, so why you calling every time you drink too fucking heavily? So pretty much what happened was the song kind of went viral, and as you saw, if you were reading through, he worked at Trader Joe's, thinking of quitting his job because the song went so viral that a record producer found him and he got signed by a label, right? And this happens so often on just about every social media platform, but especially on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, where artists, persons who are creatives, like most of you are here, persons who are in the creative spaces. So whether it's dancing, singing, playing an instrument, crafts, whatever, they're getting recognized now because something that they would have put out there, they would have put out their work on social media platforms, and it got picked up by other people who like it, who wants to see it, and it gets pushed, and then it comes across the right person at the right time. And this is community spread at its best, guys. And what we need to understand and realize is that now with digital, again, it's the consumer who decides what is relevant, what is good. And there are no longer gatekeepers to say, oh, well, no, I don't like your music, or no, I don't think this is good, etc. Because now it's the audience who decides that, right? Sorry, it's the audience who decides that, right? And so you find, and because they have that kind of power, that consumer power, they can create entire communities just based on what I want to watch, what I want to see. That's what Patreon is there for. It's what I want to see, and that's why Netflix started making so much money. Guys, could you excuse me 1 minute, please? Okay, guys. My apologies. My apologies. My dad brought breakfast. I'm so sorry. All right. So, yes. Right. So consumers now have the power to decide for themselves what is relevant content, what is content they want to see, and they're willing to now pay for that. And of course, they're because they are more powerful, they can make certain demands. of other groups like the music industry or the fashion industry or whatever to say, we want this, make this, etc. So you find that a lot of musicians, a lot of creatives, a lot of persons in the online space, Justin Bieber is one example. What's that group? Chloe and Halle, that's another example. Just putting your music out on YouTube, and next thing you know, Jackie Aina is another example. She started out as a YouTuber, makeup artist, whatever, and then what happened? Now Jackie Aina is getting invited to the Met Gala, right? Because of our audience. Yeah, all right. That's community spread in action. This is a more direct kind of organic promotion, and it's brand collaborations, right? So it's when two or more brands team up to create a product offering that works across their combined audiences. And the result is a super engaging campaign that doesn't blow the budget. And I go back to the whole Jackie Aina example. You'll find that a lot of these makeup brands, a lot of these makeup gurus that started out like Patrick Star, Jackie Aina, what's that other one with not Patrick Star, Jeffree Star. I'm not so familiar with the name. So Jeffree Star, Jackie Aina, there's this other young one, James Charles. So they get a lot of brand deals, or they collaborate with a lot of makeup brands to create their own palette or their own foundation or their own whatever. Because one, they have the trust of a particular community, who will trust that whatever product they are collaborating with another brand, which is usually a cosmetic or beauty brand, to make, is going to be a good product, because why would they recommend something to me that's not good, right? That's kind of the idea. That can backfire, and it does a lot of the times. But that's kind of an idea of brand collaboration. Brand collaboration could also be in the form of an event. You have a lot of situations where look at a Kim Kardashian who gets paid to just show up at events. That's a form of brand collaboration. The brand collaborations can be organic, and it can also be paid, right? So which is why it is it can be a hybrid kind of thing where some part of it are paid, some part of it is organic, or it could be either or, right? So what you'll find is, and I want to go back to the Kim K example so I can explain a little bit further. What you'll find is that you have celebrities, B or C list kind of celebrities, who kind of use their celebritydom to get brand collaborations, because they do have a little bit of a following and they have a little bit of hype. B Simone is one. And you have other, small creators who are relatively popular. They're popular because they become, social media personality or digital personality, and they leverage that for brand collaborations. Locally, you have what's his name? Is it Kyle? I keep messing up his name, I'm sorry, but he's a gamer. He's one of the biggest gamers on YouTube, and he has collaborations with so many different gaming companies and gaming brands, etc. And that's part of how these influencers make money. Talking about influencership, paid partnerships are when businesses pay influencers or other brands to promote a particular product or service. And of course, we have Wonga Girl, who's, I keep saying is one of my favorite creators. She was on here last week, last class, before the holidays. And she kind of explained to you how she became an influencer, etc. But she has had several brand partnerships, one specifically with Juicy Patties. And I think they were doing some kind of deal or something, and she was one of several influencers, food-based influencers that they approached as part of this campaign. It's usually a campaign that they're running on a particular thing over a more extended period of time than just a single ad or a single thing. It's usually a campaign. And so that's what paid partnerships are. Now, this is interesting because it's on the organic. And why? Because as I said earlier, unless you see that paid partnership with Juicy Patties right there, you would not have known that it was a collaboration. And Up to 2 years ago, you did not have to have that paid partnership thing there. But what is happening is that there was this big, several influencers got in trouble because they were actually doing ads or ad-based content, but they were not telling their audience that these were ads, which means that take it with a grain of salt. It's kind of what it's saying. Yes, I know you trust me because you're part of my community, but this is just my opinion about this particular thing. And it's an ad, which means they're paying me for that opinion, which means that there may be elements of bias. And because customers started complaining about that. And generally, there are laws in the United States that says that you have to tell people when certain things are ads. And so social media platforms came under immense pressure to change that. And that's how this paid partnership. So sometimes you post something and you say, you mention another brand name, and Instagram will ask you, is this paid content? Then you need to add the tag that says it's a paid content. And you can get in trouble on these platforms if you don't inform your audience that this is, somebody says not Patrick Star, that's SpongeBob. Y'all don't come for me. So yeah, you have to now on some of these platforms, for most of these platforms, you have to tell people that these are ads, but it still is a more organic approach to social media advertising than actually running ads as. It's less disruptive. It's a part of your general content that you would have been creating anyway. You know what? Let me show you one, a very, very big brand that uses brand collaborations effectively. You know, if you're not savvy, you wouldn't know that it's a brand. It's called it's just in my head. I know it's gone out of my head. Unbox therapy. Oh my God. Unbox therapy. Now you see that it has 18.2 million subscribers, 2,000 videos. And what happens is that they send him things for free a lot of the times. For free. They send him things so he can review it and give his opinion. And even if his opinion is not positive, it can still help the brand to become visible and relevant in the space. He's getting paid to do this, by the way. So sometimes he gets paid by the brand. Sometimes he gets paid through the YouTube Creator Fund. Sometimes sometimes the videos are sponsored. So he's making especially with 18.2 million subscribers, he's making a ton of money. Here's another one. People don't know, but he does get paid. He does do a lot of brand collaborations, and he does get paid for these reviews. He's another very popular one. Marcus Brownlee, he does get paid to do a lot of these reviews. And what he also gets, which is more an added value for his brand, is he gets access to these big industry insiders. So iPhone. So I remember once he did a review about an iPhone and it wasn't positive, and iPhone called him directly and said, well, listen, we know you don't like it. Can we have a meeting? You tell us exactly what you don't like. And would you believe that they did and they fixed it? That's how powerful these influencers can be. And that's why influencer marketing is such a powerful tool or marketing tool, right, guys? All right. And that's kind of the last one there. But now I want to move on to talk to you guys about metrics. How do you measure the success of your efforts on social media platforms? Well, again, a part of your social media plan should include your KPIs, your key performance indicators or indices, right? And what you are doing is you're saying, okay, this is what I'm going to be looking at. When we talk about SMART goal, or we talk about the measurable, we're really asking what metric you're going to use to determine if you have reached that objective or that goal. So what is the objective and goal that you have for social media platforms? And what metrics are you going to use to reach that goal? Right? And this is why it's important to set KPIs, right? So KPIs are best suited to the company's digital activities and are chosen by having a clear understanding of what the success outcome is. So again, we're going to break it down. So there are a ton of KPIs, so many different types of KPIs when you're talking about analytics and data tools, right? But what you need to decide is which one is best for you and what it is that you are trying to achieve on this particular platform. That's what you need to decide, right? And so you're not, what you don't want to do is be so generic that it doesn't make sense for your brand, because you're investing a lot of time and effort and even money into, building out your digital platforms. You want a return on investment. That's what ROI means. You want to see that what you're investing is you're getting you're reaping dividends from what it is that you are investing, and you are fulfilling whatever, and that's the dividends, that you're fulfilling whatever goal and objectives you set out to accomplish on this platform, right? And of course, when we're talking about, metrics, in this instance, we're talking about you're assessing the performance of your digital activity to see if it is getting you to where you need to get. So it's a performance indicator, key performance indicator. So you're looking at all the activities that you're doing, your tweeting, your videos, your lives, your streams, whatever you're posting on social media, whatever you're communicating on social media. And that's what we call collectively your digital activity. When it's, email, website, whatever. The entirety of it is called a digital activity. And you're seeing whether or not it's performing the way you want it to perform, because there's a reason for you doing it. Again, nobody gets up and go, let me stress out myself trying to create content for social media. Nobody in their right mind do that, right? It rests on an understanding of your brand, your audience, the platform. And if you understand those three things, you can easily develop objectives and track outcome if you understand these things, okay? And that's what we mean by the success outcome, or it could just be the outcome. So once you understand, so what I say that, what I mean is, you know which platform you need to be on, because that's where your audience is. You know what kind of type of content that they want to see, because they've either told you, or because you have done a deep assessment, you've created your audience persona, you've refined it over a period of time. Because guys, your audience persona that you start out with will change or can change. Your audience evolves, right? And so you're constantly refining that, right? So you understand what they want to see, what kind of content they would want to engage with. Then you craft your messaging around that so the content makes sense for that group. But you're also looking at what the platform allows me to do, and then putting those features to use to attract the people, engage the people, and then send them somewhere where you can convert them or try to convert them on the platform, etc. Right? So that's what we mean. But let's look at, guys, the important metrics that you need to know when it comes to social media. And the first one is engagement. And there are different types of engagement. So engagement is really a collective term. And it includes likes, comments, shares, saves, right? And it's an amalgamation, or it's an aggregation of the different types of interactivity between your audience and your content. All right? Or between a user and its content. And of course, we have engagement rates, which tracks or can tell you the percentage in terms of engagement versus followers, right? In your template too, in your social media template too, I kind of gave you a better breakdown and even the mathematical equation for that. The other one is reach. Lord Jesus. Okay, so nothing working today. No. So what is reach? Okay, let's not do that. So guys, I'm not sure what's happening. This is not working out as I planned it, so my apologies. So let me just do it this way so you guys can see it better. So when we're talking about reach, we're talking about the number of people who saw your content, right? So again, remember the example I gave earlier about you having a 5,000 followers and not everybody's going to see it, but when you boost your post, you're kind of guaranteeing that most of the 5,000 persons would see it, or a greater majority of the 5,000 persons will see it, as opposed to what would happen in a regular setting. All right. The other one is impressions. Okay. None of this is working, guys. Hold on. The other one. Oh dear. So with impressions, we're talking about the number of we're talking about the number of, it includes placement. Impressions includes placement, because what we're talking about is not just how many persons saw it, but where they saw it and how many times they saw it, if that makes sense. So it might have been in the top part of their feed. That's one place they saw it. They may have saw it. It may have also popped up on their explore page. That's one place they saw it. And it's just a different. So yesterday, Monday, when we were looking at Facebook and we were looking at all different places, Facebook places your ad, that's where the impressions part come in. So it's how many places your ad was seen at, if that makes any sense to you. And if you don't understand, I will try to explain again, okay? So it's really the number of times your content was displayed. That makes sense? Let me know if that makes sense, guys. The other metrics that you guys should know about is conversion. Let's look at leads, right? So when we're talking about leads, we're talking about the number of persons, or measures the number of persons who take a direct action in response to persons interested in what you are selling, and the interest can be expressed in different ways. So whether it's answering your poll, subscribing, direct messaging, and this is what we call qualifying a lead. Now, when you have qualified leads, what happens is that they voluntarily do something. So you say, okay, guys, subscribe to this. They voluntarily go and put their information in themselves. Right? That's what we call qualifying a lead. But the lead is really somebody who already has an interest in a product or service, not necessarily yours, but already have interest in a product or service, or already have a problem that they're looking for a solution for that your product or service can satisfy. So you call those persons a lead, and then you become aware of the lead because they take certain actions, right? So let's talk about traffic. So when we're talking about traffic, we're talking about website traffic. And I always say social media is more of a satellite, or what we call satellites. And what they do is they should be used to drive traffic to your own platform or your main platform. So your website, your email, your app, whatever other main platform you have, right? But when we talk about website traffic or web traffic, we're talking about the number of visitors to your respective digital platforms, and tracks where those visitors are coming from or going to. So for instance, if you have a website and you have Google Analytics on your website, what happens is Google Analytics can tell you, okay, 20% of your traffic comes from Instagram, 40% comes from Facebook, 30% come from LinkedIn, or whichever other platform they're coming from, if not social media. So Google tell you if they're coming from an ad, a Google ad that you have up. If it's coming from YouTube, Google can tell you if it's coming from a different platform altogether. So for instance, say you have a backlink, because backlinking is a form of SEO, and I don't want to get too technical. But say for instance, you wrote a guest blog on somebody else's blog, and they link your blog in that guest post. That's what we call a backlink, right? And so I will be on entrepreneur.com because Naomi Garrett just wrote a piece for entrepreneur.com. And I see Naomi Garrett on there, she wrote a really incredible piece, and I can click from entrepreneur.com to either go to Naomi's social media pages or her website. And so Google tells me that can tell me that the person who clicked is coming from that entrepreneur.com page to my website, etc., or to my website, right? So that's what we call web traffic, and you use tracking tools that can tell you where these different persons are coming from. The other one is conversion. And conversion is interesting because it kind of have two parts to it. So the first part is it measures the number of persons who take a direct action in response to your CTA, your call to action. That's part of conversion, but that's also leads, right? Because your leads, they're taking a particular action. But the reason why that's considered conversion is if the end goal was to get them to sign up for this thing, then technically you would have converted them, but there's an additional step, which is probably to purchase something, etc. So that's the other part of conversion. So now that they've taken the action, right? Do they then follow through and complete the buyer journey or the sales funnel, which is to buy the thing? That's also the other part of conversion. So conversion starts when they take a direct action in response to your CTA, and it ends successfully when they take the ultimate final step and complete the cycle. Or really, the cycle should end when they come back or they start the journey all over again, because then there's retention, but ultimately what you want is a sale, right? So these are just some key terms you should know, so key social media terms you should know, but there are others like, and this is when it comes to the paid, so you have pay-per-click, pay-per-view, pay-per interaction, you have things like hashtags, so how many persons are using your hashtags. That's something that Twitter does. Twitter gives you analytics on how many people are actually using your hashtags, especially with the branded hashtags. With Twitter, where we saw on Monday, you can see how many people actually downloaded your app, if you promoted it on Twitter, etc. So different platforms will give you different metrics, but in general, these are the metrics that you'll find on most social, if not all, social media platforms. So guys, that's really the end. And of course, we can talk about tracking tools. And Facebook Pixel, we talked about Facebook Pixel on Monday, and it's really a tracking tool that you can get from Facebook. You can put it in your website, and it tracks how many persons actually visit your website. And it's good if you want to retarget those persons with ads, right? And we talked about Google Analytics, another data tracking tool. And these are really just like, I think, as I said, I think Facebook is the only social media platform that actually has a tracking tool like that, because on the platforms, what you're really getting is analytics about, how your platform is performing, different types of content, blah, blah, blah. You don't really get a tracking tool to tell you where these persons are coming from. What the platform will tell you is that how many accounts have been reached, yeah, and how many of these accounts don't follow you or haven't followed you in a while, but they don't tell you where exactly they're coming from. If you're running ads on Twitter using like Twitter lead generation cards, the lead generation cards will give you the Twitter handle, and the email addresses of the persons, etc. So That's one other metric that you could track. Okay, so some questions. How is conversion? Let me find out. Talika, are you in the building? Yes, I stopped sharing the PowerPoint, guys. Talika, are you in the building? I stopped sharing it because there is something wonky going on with it. All right, so our guest is not yet here. Just message her just now. All right, so let's answer some question. Anybody wants to raise their hand and jump on and talk to me? No, I wasn't sharing, guys. I stopped sharing because it wasn't working. Sorry. Somebody says, view this as you're having a character building day. Guys, it's doping the class. Okay. So let's answer the question that Zuri asks. How is conversion different from traffic? Okay. Traffic only tracks one, the amount of persons who are visiting your website. We call that a traffic. We call that traffic to your website. But it tracks that and it also tells you where they are coming from. Sometimes Google, it will tell you where they go. So after they bounce from your page, you call it bounce rate. After they bounce from your page, Google can also tell you where else they went to. But really, what you're trying to figure out is where are all the visitors to my website coming from? That's traffic. Conversion now happens if the persons who are trafficking to your site takes an action, that a desired action, and then ultimately completes the sales funnel cycle or the buyer's journey by actually taking that ultimate step, which may be to purchase something, sign up for something, download something. Okay, that's the difference. Oh, the chat only allows to message me directly. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not sure why. Okay, understood. Okay, great. So I see some hands up. Tamika, you can go ahead. Tamika Morris.
Hi, I want to know a little bit more about the matrix. I didn't understand
The
I was
matrix?
well, I wasn't asked to do IG matrix, but I've been trying to do some research on how
Okay, do
to.
you mean metrics?
Yeah,
Okay, not matrix, metrics.
metrics. How to do the social
This is Leo
metrics.
type of thing going on here. Okay.
Sorry, I watched the movie, so sorry.
Okay, so what is the question you have?
I just want to know what it is, some more about what it is, how what I can do. I really don't know anything much about it. I've tried to do a lot of research, but it just,
Don't stress
come
yourself.
across.
You sound like you're stressing yourself and you're overthinking. When we talk about metrics, we're really talking about data. Long and short, that's it. We're talking about data. And we're talking about a specific type of data set. And what these are different types of data sets. And what the aggregate of this data is telling you is how you're performing. Remember when I just went through the definition of KPI and I said one of it is talking about the performance of your digital activity. So
Yes.
you post a video on YouTube or on Instagram, because you mentioned Instagram. You post a video on Instagram. How do you know if your video is performing well?
What?
You use analytics. Instagram gives you analytics on every piece of content you post on Instagram. Instagram tells you a couple things. Impressions, which means how many times it was displayed. Reach, which means how many profiles or how many, they talk about in terms of profiles, but how many profiles interacted or not interacted, saw your content. Comments, you can see the amount of comments, you can see the amount of likes, you can see the amount of shares. Instagram tell you there's another little metric on there that talks about others. So it tells you whether it's coming from home, which is whether it's your followers or not. And other includes explore page, etc. Right? That's what we collectively call metrics. But they're just different data points or data sets that you can use to determine if you're performing the way you want to perform on these digital platforms. Does that make it any clearer for you?
Cool. Right. In terms of, let's say, for example,
Woman, does that make it any clearer for you?
yes, it has. Yes, it
Establish that
has.
before we move on.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. So I do a little bit of data, but also I want to move into the presentation aspect of it. So let's say we have like a festival, and I want to know when we're promoting the festival. So every year I try to, I don't know about the other manager, but I try to look to compare each year to see how many persons have been viewing that one video, because they normally post this boring video, but that one video from IG, the data from IG, just to present it to him. Like, I want to know how to present the
As to what
data.
you're asking me. You want to know how to present the data? Screenshot it. Or record your screen. You don't see it on desktop, but you will see it on your phone. Or you can see it on desktop if you've connected your Instagram account to your Facebook account, and you go into the Facebook of the business suite, because you have a Facebook page connected to your Instagram page. If you go into the business suite and you go into insights, you can find insights for both your Facebook and your Instagram right there on the screen, and you can download it from there. You can screenshot it.
Thank you. That's what I didn't know. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Mikhail, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi, morning.
So, morning again. So my question was from last class, but it's gonna tie into what you're doing. I wanted to find out, last class you looked at budgeting and you started showing us about promotions, I believe. I wanted to find out, when you're running a promotion online, which platform in your experience is the most budget friendly one that offers you to start with a low budget, because we're all incorporated.
What kind of promotion are we talking about?
Oh, like Instagram promotion, like when you're.
There's only one platform you can run an Instagram promotion on, and that's Facebook.
Yeah. But when you're doing advertising, social media advertising, which one you think is the best platform that offers low budget or budget friendly options?
There's no such thing as best platform.
Okay.
Where are you running the ad? And that's what I had actually said on Monday. Where you're running the ads, where your audience is, and the type of ads you're running is going to determine
the budget.
Where you run the ads and the objective, right? Remember, when we looked at the different platforms, all of them gave you could put in any amount of money you wanted to put in. But all of them kind of work on a form of a bidding system, where is a person who spends the most money to try to reach that particular audience who is going to be most successful. So it does. You can keep it low, and if your objective is satisfied by the outcome, then fine. I've never run an ad for more than $100.
Okay.
My regular ad spend is $40 a month, $50 a month, sometimes $20 a month. I spent $5, $10, $20 on an ad, because what I pretty much wanted was to push it out to all my followers. I wasn't necessarily looking for new followers.
Awareness,
But right? It depends on the type of ad you're running and the objective. You may have to end up spending more money to reach the audience that you want to reach. Again, objective, audience, platform, and the type of ad. All of that is there. So there's no such thing as which one of them offer the lowest. None of them offer the lowest. All of them have to pay some money. The amount of money you pay is going to determine your success, which is why you need to know what your objective is, so you can determine if that success is okay with you, or if you need to increase your budget to increase your chances of hitting that goal.
Okay, and thanks so much for answering it in that way. And my follow-up question, I know you said a lot of social media and a lot of what we do is going to be intuitive and it's going to be based on our experience. Would you therefore then say, in terms of our advertising, creating our ad spend, our budgets, and dealing with our market and such, is that more of a trial and error situation, inclusive of our strategy, of course?
Sorry, go again.
is it more trial and error? So you have to try something to see if it works in order to know that you do more of it or less of it. So would you say it's more trial and error along with your strategy that you've built?
Even your strategy is trial and error. All of it
Okay.
on digital is trial and error. And this is not just digital, it's marketing it's marketing.
Right.
All right, Talika, do me a favor. You're showing up as Shanae Henry. Could you just right click on your name and just change your name, please? Khalil, I love your bonnet, but can you turn off your thing? Yes.
Wow, you were doing the dance a while ago.
Right click on your name and change your name, Talika. Yeah, so a lot of it is trial and error. You can put certain things in place to not necessarily guarantee, but to ensure as best as possible that you get where you go. There's some strategies that you can use, and I'm sure Talika has some of those information can give us today because she is really, really good at social media sales. But there's absolutely no guarantee. Talika will never tell you that she absolutely guarantees this either. But sometimes it's multiple strategies that you have to implement in order to get there. One strategy won't necessarily work. And what I find is people will try one time in one way and decide to, oh, it didn't work, my God, right? When it's a continuous effort, it's a continuous trial and error, it's continuous tweaking and going back and trying tweaking and going until you kind of hit upon a right formula. And I'll tell you that sometimes that formula will only work for you for a while, or only up to a point, and then you have to reformulate and come back again because social media algorithms change, platforms change, all sorts of things change all the time. So there's no guaranteed anything.
Okay, so really quickly, like our Nora person is here to present. I find with clients, they really want you to tell them, yes, you're gonna get them like 100 new sales for the month. How do you manage that?
You don't. As the professional, it is a part of your job is to curb their enthusiasm, temper their expectations. And you have to let them know that, listen, I am not guaranteeing you anything. What I'm going to do is formulate a strategy that I think would work for your brand based on the information that you would have shared with me. That's important. Based on the information that you would have shared with me, I'm going to formulate a strategy and we're going to implement the strategy and we're going to tweak as we go along to see what works when, at what time. It's an ongoing thing. You don't set it and forget it. That does not work on social media. It doesn't work on any digital platform, to be honest with you. So you have to temper your clients' expectations. And you have to understand too that a lot of it is coming from ignorance of how the platforms work. So if you are knowledgeable about the platforms and how the platforms work, a part of your job is to, as best as possible, explain it to your client. That's why I do a training course for my clients. Because you're not gonna cause me reputational damage because you don't understand what's happening. So I do many training courses with my clients so they understand what these things are, what we're trying to do, what the KPIs are. They're very clearly outlined. What the KPIs are, what the alternatives are, all that you have to tell them and let them know, right? But guys, it's 11:36, and so guys, I don't know. All right, thanks, Mikhail. Don't know if you know this beautiful lady that's on the screen here, but her name is Talika McDonald, and Talika is the founder of this brand, and y'all know the brand. Y'all know the brand. If you don't know the brand, what are you doing on social media, especially on Instagram? So it's called Women's Marketing Code, and what she does is she specializes in helping. Oh, I need to let you unmute. Hold on. Oh, I just sent the request. I'm sorry. Awesome. Welcome, Talika.
Thank you.
And she's the founder of Women's Marketing Code, and she helps everybody, but specifically women, small businesses, online businesses, grow and sell. And she has been. So I'm going to hand over to Talika. She's going to talk to you about using social media to promote your brand and, of course, the ultimate goal, make sales, right? So handing over to Talika.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Super stoked, super happy to be here. Thank you so much, Katie, for having me on. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to just talk about selling online and all of that with everyone today. I actually have a little agenda that I'm going to share with you all, but yes, Kadia is indeed correct. I teach female entrepreneurs how to sell online with no fluff social media marketing strategies. So that's all that I do. I go into that every single day. All of my content, everything goes into social media marketing and of course, selling online. No, with that being said, I kind of wanted to piggyback off of something that Kadia said to earlier when I just hopped on the call where, just setting the right expectations with your clients. I just feel like I can add to that convo a little bit. Something that I always recommend and something that I do with my clients as well is a strategy I call setting the stage. So I will hop on a call with them before and have a presentation and let them know what exactly they're getting into. I'll set the right expectations. I'll let them know that, okay, when it comes on to getting followers and all of that, you might have to use organic or paid strategies, different things like that. Like you can have these conversations with your clients. Do not be afraid to set the right expectations. As a matter of fact, all of my clients, every single one of them appreciated that insight before we started working together. And if you find that for some reason they're just not grasping this concept, don't be afraid to have that conversation like, okay, maybe we're not the best fit or the right fit for each other, but really and truly setting the stage is what's going to help you from the very jump before you even take their coins type deal. Setting the stage is what's going to help prevent that conversation in the future. And the truth is, maybe it does pop up down the line again where they say, hey, this isn't really going as quickly. What's going on here? Don't be afraid to bring up the conversation again. It might have to be a repetitive thing, and that's totally fine. All right. But really and truly, now that we got that out of the way, what I'm here to talk to you all about today is just organic and paid social media marketing strategies that will help you get sales in your business month to month. This is what I teach in my course. For those of you who don't know, I am a course creator, and currently I have 2 courses available where I teach everything I'm about to talk about just now in my courses. And I've also helped my students scale from 4 to 5 figure months in their business. I also have 400 students in my courses overall at this point in time. So first things first, I'm going to get into organic and then paid strategies. So the very first thing that I want everybody to understand before we even move forward is that sales is the truth. The biggest truth about it is it's all about communication. I need you to get this in your head first and foremost, because what happens when people think about sales, there's a lot of pressure that gets applied, and you cannot function or strategize properly under all of the pressure that you put yourself under in trying to get sales every single month in your business. So first things first, I need you to shift your mindset to understand that sales is all about communication. And sales is something that is actually at the very end of your marketing strategy. What do I mean by that? You don't do one thing online the very first time and get sales. It does not work that way. Really sorry to break it to you all, but you have to do consistent things, repetitive things in your marketing strategy in order to get sales in your business. Every single month, you have to decide what you're going to do for your business, how you're going to attract new people to your business, what are you going to say, what's going to be the positioning, the sales pitch, all of that. You have to think about all of these things every single month. Now, the beautiful part is once, as Katie has said earlier, once you have this down pat, once you go back to the drawing board and tweak this and go back again and tweak it again and all of that, over time, what happens, you'll find that you now have garnered the experience to do this more seamlessly, get even more results, all of that. But I'm talking about mindset shifts and all of that in the very beginning before I talk about anything else, because a lot of times I found that I can even give you all of these strategies, all of these different things, all of these different points, but if your mindset is not where it needs to be, you're going to have a hard time using the strategies, one, and of course, getting results from them. So understand that selling online is all about communication. Its sales is at the very end of your marketing strategy. It's something that you have to do month over month. You have to decide what you're going to be doing for your business. And it's not a one-hit thing. Like I said, I have to repeat this. You're not going to do just one thing in your business and get sales. That's not how it works. You have to do a series of steps in order to say that you're going to get sales in your business. No. The next thing I want to talk about really, really quick, because this can be a pretty expansive topic, but really, really quick, I'm just going to share with you the big picture when it comes down to sales and getting sales in your business. There is a framework that I teach to my students. I talk about it a lot on my page. It's literally the secret sauce, the Krabby Patty formula for WMC, and it's called VELS, which is V for Victor, E for Edward, L for Larry, S for sales. Now, V stands for visibility. It's at the very first phase of your marketing strategy. And this is where you now focus on getting new eyeballs on your business. You're attracting people to your social media pages, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever. You are focusing on getting new people to look at your business. Now, you might find that while you're in this phase, you're doing different things like Katie mentioned earlier, Facebook or Instagram ads, different things like that, all in the aim of getting people to look at your business. Yes, VELS, perfect. Someone typed it in the chat. Thank you. Right? So you do all of these different things to attract people to your business. Now, we move into the next phase, which is engagement. So all of these people, all of these new eyeballs that you attracted to your business, you have to build a relationship with them. Again, sales is all about communication. You're not going to get to do just one thing and make one post on social media and make sales. Like, you have to build relationships with people online, much in the same that you would in the real world if you had a store or something of the sort. Right? So you want to engage with your audience. You want to make sure that you're building a relationship with them, like going live, sharing educational or entertaining content, things like that. And then we have the phase where it kind of gets a little bit more juicy now, where, okay, you attracted these people, you've built a relationship with them. Now you're going to pick out your VIPs. Now, VIPs are people who will actually buy from you. The next thing that I need you to understand is that just because you have, for example, 5,000 followers on social media does not mean all 5,000 people will actually buy from you. So it's very important you understand this first and foremost, so you can look at your metrics, your analytics in the right way, that you're not setting the wrong expectations for yourself. And so you know how to identify your VIPs or identify those people who will actually buy from you out of that 5,000, for example, right? So for lead generation, we are talking about different things, like even ads, depending on how you structure your ad, it can be a lead generation ad. But we also talk about other things, like the type of content you're creating, which is what I'm going to focus on with you all today. Now, the very last phase is sales. Now, I love breaking down this framework for everyone all the time, and let me tell you why. Notice how sales is at the very end of this framework, all of it at the very end. Why is that the case? Because there are different things you have to do that will lead to a sale. A lot of business owners made the mistake of, I would say, rearranging the acronym and thinking S comes after V, for example, or S is at the very beginning of their marketing strategy, and that's just not true. As you've noticed, you first have to acquire the potential customers, acquire those new eyeballs, and then go through the process of nurturing them, building relationships and all of that before you get the sale, right? Now, another question that I usually get about this is, okay, well, I've had people who follow my page and they bought from me right away. I mean, did they follow the process? They absolutely did. They saw your page, they really liked your content, they already made the decision that, okay, I'm gonna jump into this decision and work with this person or buy from this person. It's all the very same thing. It doesn't matter the time frame. It's not anything that is long and extensive. I just need you to understand the process of what your customers or your potential customers go through online before they buy from you. So now that we have all of that, we understand all of that, we have the big picture, let's zoom in on lead generation and sales, which is what I'm here to talk to you all about today. Now, we have organic and paid strategies that you can use to get sales in your business or to pick out your VIPs, like I mentioned earlier. Now, the organic way that I would recommend is, of course, your content strategy, how you show up online and different things like that. Now, I always say you can post content all day, every day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever some gurus on Instagram would recommend. You can do that all day, every day, and still not make sales in your business. So with that being said, the type of content that you post is extremely important. And I'm going to break down with you today the type of content that you should really be prioritizing if you're going to say you're going to identify your VIPs or pick out your VIPs or get sales in your business, right? So first things first, social proof. I cannot stress enough the importance of social proof. And in my experience, I've been doing this for about 3 years now, ongoing to 4 years. In my experience, I've found that there's different ranges of social proof. You have some types of social proof that is more impactful, like your testimonials, your video testimonials, different things like that, that people will see those and say, yep, that's it. That's all I needed to see in order to go ahead and buy from this person. And then you have other forms of social proof that are still impactful, but not as, like, for example, even those DMs that you get from people saying, oh my God, I love this so much, or I love what you do, don't stop, things like that, it still counts as social proof. Now I'm putting y'all onto this game because I really wish somebody told me this before, because I used to think, oh, if it's not a testimonial, it's not worth it. It's not worth posting on the page. That's not true. Every single bit of it counts as social proof because people just need to overall see that you are serving people in the online space and that other people like your business. Now, this is something that is huge in customer behavior that I'm going to talk about for a little bit. People have a herd mindset in the sense that once they see that other people are supporting your business, other people are replying to you, other people are sending DMs, other people are commenting, people just want to see that you are serving your audience before they decide to take the step with you to reach out to you. This is something I've learned and something I've done in order to fast track engagement and building my online community, whether that was on Instagram or the private Facebook group that I have for the support of my students or for the support of people who've bought my course, right? Social proof is extremely important. And if you want to make sales in your business, you have to prioritize getting social proof in your business. Now, I know when you're in startup, you might be saying, okay, well, first of all, I don't even have my first sale yet, right? How do I go about doing this? There's many different ways that you can do it. Like, for example, working with a small batch of people and setting the stage, once again, letting them know that you expect or you want a testimonial, different things like that. But you can prioritize social proof in your business and make it be a very big part of your selling strategy online. So social proof is very, very huge when it comes down to selling online and building customer trust. Now, the next bit that I'm going to go into is storytelling. Now, we live in an age where everything is just digital. We love stories. We follow people for their stories, vlogging, all of these different things are becoming wildly popular. TikTok has absolutely exploded in the last 2 years. And even Instagram themselves have adopted that concept to now introduce reels and different things like that. Now, when it comes down to storytelling, you have to keep in mind that your audience, whether that's on social media or your potential customers, anything that you want to dub them as, they don't know the full picture. They don't know why they should buy from you. They don't. So in your head, you're posting all of this content and you're like, well, it's obvious. What do you mean? Like, my content looks amazing. My product is amazing. Like, why would they not want to buy from me? The truth is they don't know. And it's your job as the entrepreneur and the head marketing strategist in your business. Hello, we wear many hats in our business. It is your job to tell the story and paint the picture for them. You have to explain to people why they need to buy from you. Do not take it for granted that just because you have an amazing product or service that people are just going to flock your business and like they understand from the jump why they need to buy from you. They don't. Assume, it is best to assume that they don't know. Right? So ways that you can storytell online is, for example, sharing behind the scenes, even mini vlogs of what it's like to work with you or to buy from you, packaging your products, different things that are all forms of storytelling. Now, the next piece of storytelling that I like to talk about that kind of goes hand in hand with social proof is sometimes we make the mistake of just posting the testimonial and not providing more insight. Now, this might not happen all the time, but you will have customers who are very, very open and they would tell you, oh my God, I've been doing this for years and nothing worked and you finally worked for me. And they'll tell you the whole story. But when you're posting that testimonial, you're only sharing, for example, their picture and maybe a one-liner that they said. Do not be afraid to elaborate and expound on what this customer's experience was. Because when you do that, that customer is actually giving you keywords and the language that they use in describing their experience to you is how someone else will probably interpret or decide whether or not they should buy from you. So let me give you an example. You might have a customer who says, for example, I need help with this and I've been struggling with this for 3 years. I've gone it somewhere else and no one has been able to help me. And then you post that, you elaborate on that, you talk about what you've done, you talk about what they've bought from you, what the timeline was. You literally paint the full picture on the customer experience. Someone else will see that and boom, be able to say, okay, this is what I need. This is the product that this person bought. So I'm going to go and buy it the very same way, or I'm going to buy the very same thing or get the very same service. But when you don't storytell, especially when it comes down to your social proof, you'll find that you'll have a very hard time with your testimonials or getting people to convert. No, I know that was a little bit, that was a lot. That was a lot of info. Katia, I'm not sure if you want to hold the Q&A for later on or if it's okay to kind of inject a little Q&A right here. Is that okay?
Oh, sorry. Have you finished because you said you had an outline? Have you gone through it?
Yeah, okay, I haven't finished it just yet. So do you want me to finish it and then we open up the Q&A?
Because I mean, we can pause and answer some questions and then finish and answer more questions. You want to do it that way, or you want to just end and then answer all questions?
Okay, so I'll answer 1 or 2 questions because I know sometimes we kind of lose our trail of thought a little bit. So I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
So
guys, can you do the raise hand? Can you use raise hands? Please don't miss out on this opportunity because Talika, $500,000 course them. So
I cannot with you.
But very valuable information you're getting here, and you're getting it for free. And so please use the raise hand feature to ask questions. So Mikhail, you just went. I'm going to choose someone else. And if you have time, we come to you. So Auntie Pat, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to know what platform you use for your online courses.
Oh, I use Kajabi. So with Kajabi, you are able to watch your videos online. You can leave your questions in the form of comments. You can access your videos at any point in time. It's self-paced. And I also have the Facebook group as support. So if you have any questions or you want to participate in the Facebook group and the rewards program, all of that we have going on, that's something that you can tap into as well.
Awesome. Was that the only question, Antipod? Yes, I think so. All right, Kristen Romans, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Hi.
Loving the presentation so far. I'm taking notes and everything. So my question relates to lead generation. I'm not sure if I misunderstood a portion of it. Is it related directly to picking out your VIPs? And if so, or if not, could you give an example of like ways you can generate leads? For example, a person who has like a fashion or like a jewelry line or something like that, some of the sort.
Okay, yes, for sure, no problem. So yeah, lead generation is all about identifying your VIPs. So really getting your customers or getting those potential customers to indicate that they're ready to buy from you or they're interested, they're ready to work with you, that type of thing. So the best and the biggest ways to pick out your VIPs is through some of the stuff I mentioned before, like your social proof storytelling and stuff like that, but primarily your call to action. You have to be able to give people a call to action. Some of my favorite call to actions are story prompts, where you tell someone like, okay, this is what we have available in, for example, the store today. Reply to my story if you're ready to get this, or if, for example, you're offering some type of special deal or something of the sort. Instead of just posting on your page, hey, we're having a 25% off sale. You can do that, yes, but another way to really generate leads and get people in your DM so you can talk to them and close out the sales is, for example, putting that in your stories and saying, for example, you're going to offer 25% off for the first 10 people who DM you. And then, of course, when those 10 people DM you, you close out your sales and you have the sale conversation. So those are ways that you can pick out your VIPs. It's really just giving them a call to action so people can come forward, or setting the stage for a call to action so people can come forward and indicate that they're ready to buy from you or they're interested. Other ways that you can do lead generation is really off of social media. So for example, having a sales funnel set up, where have you ever gone on a website and you get that pop-up saying 10 to 15% off, but you have to put in your email address? Yeah, that's a type of lead gen. So what they're doing is offering you something so you can put in your email address, and what happens after that, as we all know, is that you're going to consistently get marketing emails, and the aim of those marketing emails is to nurture you, the customer, all right? Of course, give you that 10 to 15%, but nurture you so you actually make the decision to buy on their website or wherever. You see this all the time with webinars. You see this all the time with, webinars, those workshops, all of those different things are all forms of lead gen. So I hope that helps. Let me know if that cleared things up for you.
Did that clear anything up, Kristen? I hope it did. Okay. Okay, Mikhail, go ahead. One more, and then we continue. Mikhail, go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks much. Hi, Talika. Awesome to have you here.
Mikhail, one question.
Yeah. Just one question. Managofar. You had mentioned social proofing, Talika, and you told us that testimonials is one way. I may not have heard you, but what's the other way to social proof your business other than testimonials?
Oh, so testimonials is one way. The other way, as I mentioned, is those DMs, those comments, those messages, just any form of feedback or comments, or just anybody reaching out to you. Yeah, anybody reaching out to you and either talking about your brand, loving your business, all of those things are all forms of social proof. Because the thing is, people don't just want to see what the results are and things like that. People are actually very interested to see whether or not other people are engaging with your brand. And when other people see that other people are engaging with your brand, they will now feel comfortable to come forward and engage with you. So the other forms of social proof would be that, and those might not lead to sales, but what they will do is encourage people to at least share your business out, engage with your brand, help boost the algorithm, different things like that. So the biggest tip for building a community is making sure that you absolutely put forward or push forward other people engaging in your community. That's literally the best way to fast track that process. Otherwise, you're gonna find that people are timid to reach out to you. I see a question here in the chat. I hope that cleared things up, by the way. I see another question here in the chat. Do you need permission from your customers before you post their DMs? No, this one can be a little bit tricky. What I recommend is you can post their DM, but if you've not received consent or permission, do not put their handle or any form of personal identifiable information. So like their email address, names, and different things like that. So, you know, if you got consent, great, amazing. You can always ask. And you can even ask if they want to be tagged. Some people don't have a problem with you screenshotting and keeping the name there, but they don't want to be tagged. You see what I mean? So you have to be careful with that. Just a general rule of thumb is if you've not received consent, no personal identifiable information, no handles, none of that. And of course, if you did receive consent, then you can move forward with all of that.
Okay, another quick thing too, guys, is depending on how the interaction went. So I know Talika does a lot of polls and a lot of questions in her stories, and those you can reshare because persons who are answering expect that you're going to share it because that's the whole point of that form of interaction. So it depends on the interaction. Now remember, it goes to your DMs or it gets stored in the stories and you can go and pull it up. So if that is how the interaction started, then there is no expectation of anonymity or anything like that because they're responding to something that is usually, if they're using social media platforms, they will know that profiles will reshare because they're asking you to engage. And of course, they're going to post that engagement, right? And that's another thing too, guys. If you show that persons are engaging with you by using these other tools that can encourage further engagement as well, that's also a part of social proofing too. So just to let you know that it really depends. You can ask them, sure, but guys, it's a simple thing. You screenshot and you just use your phone to edit the image and just blur, or use the drawing tool and, you know, scratch out the face, scratch out the name, and you should be able to post. But you can also ask as well. All right, Talika, you're wrapping up the last bit, and then we're going to do our next Q&A, and then we have something else for you guys. Jacqueline from Kingston Creative, guys, wants to talk to you guys quickly about something important. So back over to you, Talika.
All right, amazing. So let's wrap this up. No problem. All right, so the next thing that, so we had social proof and storytelling. Let's talk about emotional triggers. Now, a lot of times you're posting content, but we're not posting content intentionally. What do I mean by that? You're creating the post. Yes, it's educational. Yes, it might be inspirational, you know, motivational, whatever that value is, right? Whatever that value is, but you're not tugging on emotional triggers. Now, I always like to say that customers buy from emotion first and then use logic after to justify the fact. Now, you have to be able to sit down and say, okay, based on past engagement, based on past social proof, another big reason why social proof is so important, it's gonna literally tell you how your customers are feeling and what were some of the big emotions that they felt in their buyer experience. Now, you have to be able to say, okay, I know that my customers really enjoy exclusivity. So they like feeling exclusive. They like knowing that nobody else has this or this was custom made, that type of thing. Or your customer, it might be the one that they buy off of fear. So fear of missing out, fear of missing something, or maybe they really, really like happiness, excitement, vibes, that type of thing. You have to really ask yourself, what are the emotional triggers for my audience? That is huge. You have to be able to understand that. So when you're creating your content, especially your sales content, you have to say, okay, with this, what I'll be doing is I want my audience to feel excited. I want them to feel like they're missing out on something, or I want them to feel very exclusive, right? I want them to feel like, you know, those are the main emotional triggers. So let me kind of break it down a little bit more so you can write that down. Exclusivity, fear of missing out, and happiness or excitement. Of course, you have other emotions as well, like jealousy, things like that. You'll be surprised, actually, the reasons why someone might decide whether or not they want to buy from you. It could very much well be they saw someone else get a result and they're like, you know what, I want this for myself. And they go and they get whatever it is from you. All of those are very, very important. So yes, fear of missing out is a very huge emotion, which is why you have people, or you see people or businesses use scarcity tactics, where they say things like only 1 space left or only 5 left in stock, that type of thing. All of that is to invoke fear of missing out. Now, with the scarcity tactics, what I recommend is to just be honest. Don't be that person who that's all you know how to do. That's the only sales tactic that you have. Please be very careful of this. Don't be that person who is like, oh, you know, we're closing this today and then it's not going to be open for whatever time frame. And then next week you come back and you say it's open, right? Guys, please, let's not do this. People can see through things like these. Or you tell people, okay, there's only 10 left. And then, you know, or you tell people that it's sold out, and then you go back and you're like, okay, you know, actually not really. Just be careful when you're using scarcity tactics. But yes, limited time only, early bird tickets, all of those things are scarcity tactics that you can use in your business. But outside of that, just focus more on the emotion that you're trying to invoke. Now, the last thing, which I kind of talked about a little bit, was call to action. And all of this is still under organic. So call to action. Tell people what they should buy. What do you recommend? Remember, you're the expert. So only you know why someone should go and buy this specific product, or enroll in this specific program, or buy this specific service. Only you know that. Only you have to be able to communicate this to your audience. So for example, a very big mistake that I see on social media is you use the call to action. So you tell people to click the link in the bio, but we don't know why we're clicking the link in the bio. Like, why am I clicking the link in the bio? You see what I'm saying? Like, or reply to my DMs. Why am I replying to your DMs? Like, I don't I don't understand. What are we doing? Right? So you have to make that connection. Click the link in the bio to get this. Click the link in the bio to start your skincare journey. Click the link in the bio to do this. Click the link in the bio to do that. Like, you have to, whenever you do your call to action, let people know why they're doing it. Okay, comment below. Comment, what am I commenting? Am I commenting my thoughts? Am I commenting my opinion, my 2 cents? What am I doing? So call to action is very, very huge. And it's a part of lead generation. It's a part of sales. And believe it or not, guys, honestly, call to action can do so much. It's some of the best ways to get people to DM you, to reach out to you. Again, people don't know what they should be doing unless you tell them what they should be doing, okay? Now we're gonna move on to paid, which we have, I have here for social media. Of course, you have other forms, but we have influencer marketing and of course the Instagram or the Facebook ads. Now for influencer marketing, something that I recommend is don't sleep on your nano influencers or your micro influencers, right? What do I mean by that? Don't sleep on people who are, you know, the 1K, the 2K, 0 to 10K, or the 10 to 20K people. Like, don't sleep on them. Because as people grow, as businesses or brands or influencers grow, the less, believe it or not, influential they get. What do I mean by that? You might be saying, okay, T, that don't make no sense. Because what do you mean? But when an influencer has a smaller following, they are able to reach more of their audience and connect with their audience. The bigger you are is the more kind of out of touch you are. You can't really touch every single person that's in your audience, unless they're really, really good at marketing. And not every influencer is good at that, right? So you have to, when you're reaching out to influencers for influencer marketing, you have to ask yourself, okay, can this person actually do what I need them to do? Will I get the eyeballs looking at my business? As Katie is saying in the chat, it's, as they grow, it becomes more of a fandom and less of a community. So we have fans and not really a community where people will say, okay, you know what? Anything that this person do, I will do it. It becomes more of a fan where you just kind of follow them just to see what they're doing, keeping up with them type deal, right? So you, the entrepreneur, have to decide and kind of, you know, look into their brand and ask yourself the question, can this person bring what I need them to bring? Do not sleep, please do not sleep on your nano or your micro influencers. When you're reaching out to them as well, don't be afraid to ask questions, right? So sometimes you reach out to an influencer and they'll be like, oh, you know, I have like 2,000 views in my stories. And my response to that would be like, cool, cool, cool. But how many of those 2,000 views, based on people you've worked with in the past, actually, you know, followed this brand or actually took some form of action with this brand? Because you can have people, they can have people watching their stories, but people are just tapping through. So you got to be careful of that. You have to be able to ask these questions, or don't be afraid to, of course, politely ask these questions. You know, in the past, when you worked with these brands, what were some of the analytics or the insights or things like that that you've gotten from, that this brand has gotten from working with you? Okay, so just be very careful of that. When it comes on to any form of paid marketing, especially the type that is going to take people back to your profile. So we're talking about the brand awareness type of ads, whether that's influencer or, you know, Instagram or Facebook ads. No, I definitely recommend that your page, so your bio, your link in bio, and your actual content is converting as it should. Because another mistake I see entrepreneurs making is you paid the influencer has the influence, but your page in and of itself is not converting, so you don't see the type of results that you're supposed to see. You have to be accountable and you have to be transparent with yourself in this way. So I always recommend, before you start the influencer marketing, especially on the Instagram and the Facebook ads that send people back to your profile, always make sure that your content is converting, it's on brand, it looks professional. All of those things are extremely important for conversion. But yes, influencer marketing is a really, really good strategy to use for your business once it is that you have everything else I mentioned down pat. The next thing that I recommend is Instagram and Facebook ads. Now, for Instagram and Facebook ads, I personally love Instagram ads, but let me kind of break down the big difference and why there's so much buzz around the two. In my opinion, they are both very beneficial, but they do two different things. And if you can understand what they're supposed to do, you won't have a problem using either. Now, Instagram ads is more for brand awareness. Now, if you're trying to attract new followers, different things like that, amazing. I personally run Instagram ads, like, for example, twice a month. I've not done any recently because I'm focusing on other things in my business, but personally, I would run 2 Instagram ads per month, and like my budget would look like roughly about $250. No, your budget doesn't have to look like that just yet. When I was just starting out, my budget was like, you know, the 40 and the 50, yeah, 250 USD. So my budget used to look like the 40, the 50, things like that. And I definitely recommend it, especially if this is going to be a new ad, you know, of course, make sure that you test it. Don't jump and dump all the money into the ad from the jump. Test it first, see if it works. And if it works, then of course you can run it a second time and increase how much what the ad spend is. And another tip, really quick tip for Instagram ads, especially they're, as I said, they're mostly for brand awareness. Use content that performed really, really well. So the best form of ads are the Instagram ads, that is. is the content that already performed really well on its own organically. All right. So that is something to keep in mind. That's kind of a hack that I gave you. You don't always have to create new content or new ads, all of that. It's sometimes your ad or your content that got the most shares, saves, all of that can be a really profitable or beneficial ad. I see Katie in a comment that's almost 1K GMB. Yes, ma'am. So the bigger the ad spend, the more successful the ad. I 100% agree with that. For example, whenever I run my ads, it would look like roughly about anywhere to 300 to 400 new followers per month coming in, that type of thing. So you kind of gotta, you have to know what it is that you're doing with your ad type deal.
Right, and the objective too.
Yeah, you really have to know.
Yeah.
So like the 3 types of ads, as Katie has said, that 3 types of ad is brand awareness, lead gen, and sales. Now I recommend Instagram ads for brand awareness, but I recommend Facebook ads for lead gen and sales. And let me tell you why. Facebook ads, which is why a lot of people like to say, oh, Instagram ads is worthless, da, 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 da. I don't agree. I think they have 2 different purposes. So Facebook ads is amazing for lead gen and sales. And let me tell you why. With Facebook ads, you can retarget an audience. So if you run an ad in the past, or maybe even people who visited your website, some of your followers visited your website, you can run a Facebook ad to those people. That is huge, guys. Let me tell you why. Because in marketing, people need to see your offer minimum 7 times. That's the rule. Of course, it fluctuates, can be less, can be more, but Facebook ads allow you to retarget an audience, right? So you can retarget someone who has looked at your website, looked at your profile, all of that. Now, with that piece of information, guys, I'm so excited. I love talking about this type of stuff. You can now create impactful ads that are specific for those people. So anybody who has looked at your website, chances are all they need to see after that is a little more social proof. They need to see there's a little more storytelling on why they should buy. You see what I'm saying? You can get very specific with your ads, and you can get very strategic with your ads, which is why a lot of people say Facebook ads are much better. In my opinion, they have 2 different purposes. I love my Instagram ads for my brand awareness, and I love my Facebook ads for my lead gen and sales. That being said, Facebook ads can be very complicated. It's a whole new beast, all right? And it can be very quick to suck your money if you're not good at targeting your audience and different things like that. So you gotta be careful, okay? I recommend doing your research before you tap into that. And the overall framework that I recommend for ads overall is just, making sure that you have your social proof in there. And remember, ads go to a cold audience. Stop doing ads promoting your product and like the price and like listing the ingredients. People don't care about all that. These people, especially that you're targeting, don't care about all that. They want to see the social proof. They want to see other people who have bought this specific product, right? They want to see, reasons why they should buy, different things like that. You gotta be able to paint that picture for them from the jump, because a cold audience, they don't know you. So you really gotta paint the picture on why they should be over on your profile, on your website, or wherever that ad is supposed to take them to. So that's the tea that I'm spilling for all of y'all today for organic and paid stuff. Q&A time.
Some great gems, guys. Remember earlier today, I said that some considerations you need to ask yourself when you're looking at engagement, whether it's paid or organic, is why should they care about you and your brand and whatever the foolishness that you're offering? Okay, so your lotion, nice, all right. And then what? How much people
exactly. Yep.
Okay, but if you tell me that, listen, look at this Ashy Boo over here. Look at Ashy Karen. Ashy Karen used my lotion on her ashy ankles, and within
exactly.
Nice and supple and looks soft, right? And so that is more important to me, because especially if I can relate to Karen's ashiness, yes, me and Karen in the same boat with her ashy self. And I can relate, I relate to that. Remember I said, guys, is the outcome they're buying. They're buying the solution, right? Not the pretty packaging and all the other excitement. They're buying the solution. And that's why they want to see if it works. Does it work? Yes, okay, great. Then I am more interested. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to buy, but I'm certainly listening.
Yep.
I'm listening now and I'm looking and I'm going to go seeking more information because yes, it worked, but what are the ingredients in there? Maybe I'm allergic to something or whatever. So I have to be careful. So I'm going to have to go check ingredients. So guys, remember Monday we were talking about you have brands that over 3 different types of ads when they're marketing a product. So the first one is the awareness, then the consideration. The consideration one is when you give them more information now. So them see it and they go, interesting, all right then. And then you're running another ad, giving them more information. So that's the ad where you can talk about ingredients from Himalayan mountain or the bottom of the sea. Wherever, right? Because of course you're still trying to play up the uniqueness and the value of this thing, right? So you give them more information and then you run another ad maybe with an offer or something, right? So it's not just one ad you're running, sometimes it's a series of ads and you're running different variations of that ad to test which one hits better. Sometimes one hit better with a different market segment than with another. And you have to vary the messaging so it makes sense to that market segment. That is why Talika said it can get very complicated and you have to really know what you are doing. So guys, final Q&A with Talika. Do we have any more questions for her? Somebody had asked about influencer marketing and they said, how can you pitch to an influencer to buy into your product? Come with your dirty money was my response. But to be honest, Talika, how would you advise that? Because for me, it's not necessarily a pitch. You're also courting the influencer. You're also building a relationship with that influencer as well, especially if you want the best results from that relationship. It starts with a brand relationships. So you follow them, they probably follow you, however the relationship starts, and you court them over time. You give them exclusive information, probably share some inside secrets or whatever, so they can bust something for you or whatever. You kind of build that relationship, and then you kind of approach them to say, hey, you know, because they have their community to protect. They have their a good influencer. A good influencer is concerned primarily with their community and the value to their community, because that's why they are an influencer. Without the community, they can't influence nothing. So they have to ensure at all time that their community base is safe, is secure, and that they're not going to do anything that goes against that, because that's really how their money comes to them. And so there has to be alignment between them and you, because makes sense. Me as a dog breed and they never advertise Colgate toothpaste, because then my community member is gonna go, so what, the Colgate toothpaste is for dogs? I don't know, is a dog version? What is happening? Right? So there has to be brand alignment, and you can only understand, you can really only determine if there's alignment by relationships, because sometimes you think, yeah, on the surface, it looks like a good partnership. And then when you start dig deeper, you go, oh, hold on, because something that hit right in there, and then you dig deeper and find out that they got in problems some time ago for something, because they either reneged on a deal or they never do what they're supposed to do or something, and you go, okay, all right, then it's a no from me. So start with building a relationship first. And as Talika says, the small brands are getting it. The small brands are hitting. If you notice during COVID, a lot of Jamaican brands started going to nano influencers to get their thing out, because a smaller audience size don't mean less sales, because 500,000 people could only result in 2 or 5 sales, but 1,000 people can get you 500 sales, right? So don't watch that. So Talika, how would you answer that question though?
Honestly, everything that you said, absolutely 100% agree with it. The mistake that I find a lot of entrepreneurs making for influencer marketing, unless it is that they already put out that they're open to receiving clients, Like sometimes we just jump into the DMs and send like a wall of information and never build any relationship with that person. Now, I can safely say, as Katie said, if you're a good influencer or business owner, whatever it is in the form of collabs, things like that, you want to make sure that you absolutely value your audience's attention. I am extremely picky with the type of things that I share over on WMC, who I partner with, different things like that, right? And I have even had persons who reach out to me to do a collab and they sound great, they sound amazing, but I don't know you. We ain't never built no relationship, nothing. So I am not gonna expose it to my audience, and that's just what it boils down to at the end of the day, right? It's a collaboration, and as well as it can just be, you know, more business where it's influencer marketing. Now, with that being said, I would approach that influencer by, you know, of course, making sure I follow them, I engage with their content, and not just liking their stuff, but I'm commenting and like leaving very thoughtful, very intentional, genuine comments with that person. I will go as far as to watch their stories, reply to their stories, different things like that. And then once there's a relationship going, I will essentially pitch. Now, here's a quick tip for pitching to make sure that you get the most out of it. I would say have an introduction and compliment them, or, you know, of course, just make it meaningful. Reach out to them like, hey, you know, I really enjoyed the last post that you made about X. You talk about it for a little bit. That being said, I really think we might be a good fit for each other, right? And then this is how we can collaborate. The next thing that, and of course, you ask them what their price is and things like that, if it's gonna be, you know, actual influencer marketing and it's paid. If it's a collab, you know, you can pitch what your ideas are. That being said, someone had a question in the chat where it's just like, okay, you know, who determines how things flow? I would say you bring your ideas to the table, you create the structure, make their life easier, because you are pitching to them, you know. So don't pitch to them and then they have to do all of the work after that. Come with your ideas, come with the structure, come with the execution in mind, but have an open mind and be willing to work with them, compromise, listen, and things like that. But it makes things a lot easier when you come already with the ideas of how you want things to be executed. And then you allow them to sprinkle their flair, because again, it's their community. So they sprinkle their flair and whatever ideas and all of that you allow it to bring to the table. So it can be a really fruitful collab. So that is how I would recommend, you know, going forward with influencer marketing or any form of collab.
I remember earlier I said, guys, it's a more organic approach. Even though it's a paid thing, it looks more organic than an ad, which is a little bit more disruptive. And one of the reasons why it looks more organic is because they're doing it in their style that their community is already used to. So an influencer would have a particular style of communicating information or presenting it to their audience. When they continue that style, even though it's a collaboration, they're going to continue that style because that's what their audience is used to. And that way it comes across as more organic, more authentic than if you wanted them to do something a way that they've never done it on their platform before. They've never communicated with their platform. For one, almost all of them going to tell you no. That's one. And two, it's not going to yield any value for you or for them. Because remember, you know, it's a relationship, but they also have to be accountable to their audience, and their audience has to get value from it. They have to get value from it, and they have to balance all of that while trying to give you the value that you would have come to them for. So that's important. It's influencer marketing, guys, is not as straightforward as we tend to think it is. There's a lot of work involved in the behind the scenes in that negotiation process. But another question is, Talika, are there any differences in how you use content marketing strategies for product versus services? And I have a lot to say about that because it depends. Is it B2B? Is it B2C? Who is the audience? All of those things. Also, both, I would say, involves you showing your process and you showing that this thing actually works. But with services, because you don't have a tangible product that you can take up and show people and say, look on this, it's a little bit more difficult, and it involves you doing a lot more work to kind of prove your process that it actually works for people. And in that case, more social proofing is probably needed than the products. But Talika, what do you think?
I, again, 10,000% agree with you. So they're very similar, but depending on whether it's B2B or B2C, the audience, all of those different things, as Katie has said, it really depends. Now, the thing is, for a service-based business, I would say it's harder to market based off of the same thing that Katie has said just now. You don't have something tangible. So you are really more focused on the experience of working with you, which is why for a service-based business, behind the scenes, the process, results, testimonials, storytelling, your expertise, building authority.
Important. Yeah.
Exactly. All of those things, building authority. You have to show people that you know what you're talking about, and not that you know what you're talking about, but you can get results for them. A very big mistake that I see service-based businesses make is that they spend all this time talking about me. I can do this, and I have experience in this, and I've been doing this for so long, and But when it comes on to the results that you can get for your clients, that's lacking. I don't see any of that, or it's very far and in between. So you have to be careful of that, because when people notice those things, and when you make everything all about you, it makes it very harder for the buyer to decide whether or not they want to work with you. So like, yes, you're the face of your brand. Yes, you're the one executing the service, all of that. But people, again, want to know, can you give me the results? Okay, can you give me these results? So for example, we have a lot of service-based businesses, coaches, all of that popping up, just like, I've had viral content where I've gone viral, or I've earned this in my business or that in my business. But my question is, and I always recommend people to ask this question for themselves even, can they get these results for you? Can they teach you how to get these results for themselves or for yourself? That's very important. And so you, as a service-based business, have to demonstrate that. But let's say that you're not in the coaching industry or different things like that. And let's say you still offer a service, but for example, you're a nail tech or you're a hairdresser and things like that. Again, sharing your expertise and building your authority is very important, but you still have to show that your work is well done. It's very neat, or whatever you say that you bring to the table, you actually bring to the table. You're going to have to do a lot of behind the scenes and things like that for your business. Now, for a product-based business, it's all very similar, but in my opinion, you guys kind of have it a little bit easier, because let me tell you why. Not that you have it easier, but let me tell you why, right? Nowadays, people are buying a lot of off of how they feel. How does this content make me feel? So aesthetically pleasing content and things like that can be a very big part of your marketing and kind of sets the stage for buying. So if you can make your product look good and things like that, then you're already 50% there. Sorry?
Apple.
Yeah, right. So if you can make your product look good, right? You're 50% there, but you still don't think you can get away. You still have to share your social proof and why people have to buy it. That's very, very important. The next thing is you have to make sure that your marketing, in both cases, honestly, your marketing has to align with your brand. Don't tell people that you're a luxury brand and that you sell luxury products, but when I get on your page, it's a less than luxurious experience.
Or you're calling the quality of what you post is less than luxurious, or you're telling me that it's a luxury brand and I go on and see words like affordable or low price or none of those things.
I'm confused.
Luxury. In fact, if you notice, most luxury brands don't mention price at all. They don't mention price at all, because if you can afford it, then you can afford it. If you can't afford it, well, hush boo. They don't mention price at all. You only know the price when you go for the people their website and I try to check out. Right? Because their value is not necessarily communicated through price. So you hear them talk about things like, again, 500 granny over 90 with combined 1,000 years of experience, steeped in tradition, hand sewing with Swarovski crystals. That's how they impute value for their thing. And then the price is commensurate to whatever value they think their product, whatever value they think their product is. So the price is always commensurate to the value, but there's other things that determines value other than price. And for most luxury brand, price is not even the main thing that is not the main indicator of value for them. So guys, yeah. So somebody asked us to repeat the point about services. Guys, it's really simple. If you have a service that you cannot physically show, so even with a nail taker or hairdresser, you can show the nails, you can show the finished hairstyle, right? You still have to show your process, because again, I don't know what kind of hair cream I use, maybe use a particular cream that allergic to or something. So you still have to give me more information for me to make a decision, where you're located, blah, blah, blah. And what I want to find out from you is your customer service. Is your customer service good? Because you could be the best nail tech. If you're rude, I'm going to come sit down here for 5 hours, I'd rather bite off my nails myself. No, without that, right? So there's that. But when you are a service that has no tangible thing attached to it, and you're talking about, look at a situation like lawyers. Yes, the proof comes at the very end of the thing. But you know, there's a saying on social media, said, trust the process. You have to trust the process that this is going to get you where you need to go. And so for you to build up that trust with your audience, you have a lot more work to do to convince them that, one, you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, this works, it has worked, it can work for them, right? If they do it the way you want them to do it, because that's also important when you're service-based businesses, because you have developed a process, and if they don't follow the process, then it doesn't work. And so there's a lot of conditioning that comes with that. You have to condition them as well, and all of that. So it can be complicated. And of course, if you're talking to a customer, if you're talking to another business, how you present that information is different. But Talika, there's a question that you were interested in. What was that question?
So the question is, so how does this work when we are told to not tell them to DM for price? I love this question, because if you follow
you don't have to tell anybody to DM price because it's Gucci.
Listen. So
visibility, and Gucci has so many social proofs out there. You don't have to question if it's a quality product, because one, they're very well established, and two, they have celebrities wearing their brands. They have people who are natural influencers wearing their brand and talking about their brand. But what Gucci has done, and what a lot of these luxury brands have done, even though they're very well established, they continuously talk about their process. They continuously talk about the process. They do videos on the creative director of the man who made the shoes with the eye, and in backstory of how he's a poor lonely boy in London, and he came up to the system, and now he's a great designer. They constantly tell you their backstory, constantly share their process over and over and over and over again. You are not beyond that, because you're not Gucci. Okay, there you go. So Tanika, over to you.
So I love that question, because I agree with all of that, but also set the right expectation, guys. There must be some reason why it is that you can't tell them straight away why what the price is. No, a lot of times the reason is because things are custom made. Tell people that things are custom made. Tell them why. If someone wants you, so let's backtrack a little bit. So we mentioned earlier that, okay, this is what you need to do. If you say you're a luxury brand, then I need to get on your page on your website, and that needs to translate to luxury. First things first, you're already setting the stage with that. Now, if someone DMs you, for example, or leaves a comment like, okay, what is the price for this? Do not just leave it at DM for price. Hey, thanks for asking. This is custom made, and it really depends. I want to make sure I can give you the most accurate price. Can you send me a DM? Or I will go ahead and send you a DM. You see what I'm saying? Things like that are how you talk to people and how you position yourself is extremely important. It's extremely important. The frustration that comes with DM for price is that people don't understand why they need to DM, and it just seems unprofessional. And if your prices are there on the website, you can also say that this is, custom made, or, the prices are available in the website. You can take a look at our website. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to send me a DM. Doesn't that sound a whole lot more polite and a whole lot more professional than just DM for price? And less scammy? Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like if the price is not in your comments or on the content itself, it must be somewhere. People must be able to go to your website and look at the price there and know what they're getting into. But they want to see the price. It's not on your website. It's not on your page. It's not in your highlights. It's not anywhere, and they have to DM for price. That, first of all, that's a problem. Second of all, the way how you communicate that makes all of the difference. And a lot of people nowadays, sorry?
And the market, because Jamaican people don't care about nothing what Talika just said a while ago. Show me the price. I mean, I'm going to know where else to look for. Is that you're going to show me the price? Yes, sir, I'm going to go about business. So you also have to understand the market, your audience. If you know your audience, not going to want to go anywhere else to find the price, provide the price. So when they see it, they get the price and they can make a decision right then and there. You can probably get away with this in other markets where you can go on in this fluttery language about how wonderful your sweater is. Okay, that's great. And persons are willing to go to your website. Why? Because they're more digitally literate. Digital literacy plays a huge part in marketing and communications in Jamaica, you know, guys, because if your audience is not digitally literate, you're going to have to do a lot of smooth spoon feeding and conditioning with the audience. So to save yourself some headache, put your price on the page.
Exactly.
Because that's also
somewhere. Make it accessible. Put it somewhere for someone to see it. Yes. But especially in a case where it's custom and you really, you know, can't tell the price or whatever, at least give them a range. Like, okay, you know, the starting is this and it can be up to this. And it depends. Give them something to work with. Just something.
All right. Rashida had her hand up. Rashida, go ahead.
Hi, Talika. Such a good presentation. Thank you so much. So I have two questions. The first of which is around as a small business owner and somebody who's very new to this, I have a very hard time knowing what prices are acceptable. So if I were to proposition someone, say a small, a nano or a micro influencer to promote my stuff, I really don't know what the actual, how should I approach them from a pricing standpoint, because I don't want to price too high and then they're like, no. And I also don't want them to tell me something that's above market and rip me off. So how is there a standardized thing in the industry where we can know what the general going rate is?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, we're gonna disagree on that one because in Jamaica there's no standard.
Yeah, all right. So let me elaborate then. Let me elaborate. So remember that it's more of a conversation, right? So you want to come forward and you want to, don't be afraid to ask them. Once you ask them, you can also ask around. Don't be afraid to ask around and find out from other influencers. You don't have, just because you reached out to one influencer, doesn't mean that you have to work with them. You can ask around. A website that I also like to use as well, I put it in the chat, is Social Blade. Social Blade helps you see like what brands or pages analytics are, their engagement, things like that. And I believe it also tells you, based on the amount of followers they have and things like that, how much they can potentially charge. That being said, you have to really dig in and find out whether or not you're getting value for money. If that person can properly communicate to you, okay, this is the analytics, this is how much sales they got, this is what's going on, all of that, and they give you a price, then you have two options at that point. You can decide to work with them. I wouldn't say to negotiate, because as another business owner, you don't want nobody to negotiate with your price. So, you know, you see what I'm saying? Just be careful with that. But do your research and, you know, don't be afraid to decline. If it is that they're out of your range or you just don't think it's worth it and you maybe want to circle them back and go to someone else in the industry, that's perfectly fine as well. It's really okay to say, okay, this is my budget for the month and I'm going to only work with these people until it is that you can either raise that budget or until it is that you've gotten enough researching and a lot more experience in to determine whether or not this person is worth it or if they're charging you correctly. So It's a very elaborate and extensive process. I would say it's an overtime process. You can't know straight out of the gate, but having that type of approach and being strategic with it is definitely helpful.
Right. Again, market is important. Talika is also international. She's not necessarily local to Jamaica. And so that is excellent advice. But to add on to that, you have to be mindful of the market that you're in. Influencer marketing is really a new strategy in the Jamaican space, in the Jamaican marketing space. It has not yet been fully developed or fully defined. And so there are no standardized pricing that you can really turn to say, okay, well, this is the industry standard. For a lot of digital marketing in Jamaica, there are no industry standards, right? So a lot of people making it up, putting it out them as they go along. Right. And so what you need to do is, okay, have you done this before? If you have done this before, can you show me the results? What was the original objective? What was the original KPIs? Did you meet those targets? You have to ask intelligent questions, strategic questions that are going to get you the answers that you want to get. Also, you have to set your own budget. If you know that your budget is $30,000, an influencer will say, okay, well, for $30,000, you can get this. You can get a post, you can get a reshare, you can get something, but you may not be able to get everything you want to get, but you can get some things or certain things within your budget, okay? So always make sure with any kind of ads or any kind of campaigns, make sure you have a budget going in and you know what that budget is and you don't exceed that budget. And that budget, again, has to be tied to whatever the objective is and how much you think it will cost to get you to that point. Okay, guys? Guys, we have one final question and then we really have to jump over to Jacqueline. So guys, one final question for Talika before we go. Where can you find her online? She's on Instagram as Women's Marketing Code. Where else are you online, Talika?
No, it's primarily Instagram, so Women's Marketing Code. The only other space I exist on is on Facebook, and that's for WMC students. So once you purchase the course, you're over on that side, but I'm primarily on Instagram at this moment, yeah.
Okay. I see you doing a little thing with TikTok as well.
I don't talk about that one as much because that is more along the lines of vlogging. I really love vlogging and documenting the process and things like that. So yes, I am also on TikTok, but not really. So if you want to know primarily about marketing and stuff like that, then you can find me on my Instagram page at Women's Marketing Code. And if you want to learn more about the TikTok and even my personal page, things like that, you can check out Women's Marketing Code as well.
Expect to get a lot of drip up and box in your face. Expect for you to be shook, right? But it's really eye-opening, a lot of the things. And Talika, what I really love about your platform is that you have a very great way of articulating or communicating the problem. And sometimes the issue small businesses and brands have is that they are unable to properly articulate the problem that they're trying to solve. And because they are unable to properly articulate the problem, you're not connecting with your audience because they have no idea what problem you're trying to solve, okay? So I think Talika is very good about articulating what the problem is. And in that way, she can make a direct connection between the solutions that she offers, which is her courses, to address that particular problem. And that's something we all need to learn how to do, to better articulate a problem and then find a solution that addresses specifically that problem. Talika, thank you so much. What about Women's Marketing Code? What about it? What about it? Most of the small businesses online are run by women anyway. So there you go. All right. Thank you so much for coming, Talika. Guys, please go and check her out. She has in-depth courses, a ton of resources that you can get into. Even if you don't do the courses, there are a ton of resources that you can get into. Go check her out.
All right, thank you.
Talika?
Oh yeah, so just a quick elaboration on the courses that I offer. So the two courses that I have at this point in time is the content strategy bundle and of course the full course, which is currently getting its own revamp. It's a whole thing, whole project over here on this end with my team. But for the content strategy bundle, really quick, that is more geared towards Instagram content. So if you're really struggling with Instagram content, you want to learn more about the framework that I spoke about earlier and how you can create profitable content for your business in 2022, that is the course for you. And then for the full course is more in depth. I would say it's the parent course. It goes into everything like identifying your target audience, talking about your branding a little bit, talking about the framework even more, but not just about content strategy, but creating an overall full marketing strategy that you can create for your business month over month. So you don't gotta be frustrated and confused and all that every single month. I got a framework for you. So yeah, those are the two courses at this point in time. If you have any questions, of course, you can send me a DM. My DMs are always open. Leave a comment. And of course, you can learn more about the courses in my link in bio. Now, how long are these courses? It really depends. They're self-paced. On average, people finish their courses from anywhere within 1 week to sometimes they take a little bit longer, like 3 to 6 months. There's no judgment here for that. Things happen, life happens. That's also something I'm very big about as an entrepreneur, as a coach myself. I'm never gonna be that type of person to ding you if you fall off track or you take longer than usual to accomplish something. It's all your own journey.
So it's on demand, right?
Yeah, and it's on demand. So you can sign in at any point in time. Log into your course 3 a.m. If you want to log in at 3 a.m., watch your videos, that's up to you, any point in time, and you have access to it for a full year. So
price for courses, Talika, different prices for different courses, guys.
Yeah, different prices for different courses. So the content strategy bundle is for 25 USD, and then the full course is for 75 USD, and you only pay those once.
Which is a steal.
It is. It is. And those prices might just raise, guys, because
2022
so much happening.
Raise the price.
2022 is that time, guys.
All right, Talika,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. So
All
bye,
right,
everyone.
guys, go follow her on social media. You can always DM her. Her DMs are open. It may take a little bit longer for her to answer because her DMs are busy, honey.
Yes.
So, DM her. Please go and follow her, show her your support because she gave us a ton of useful information here today and we really appreciate it. All right, thanks, Talika.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.